This is in 11-line song, but it's gonna take a long time to get through it. But it's some good information God has given us though. So let's look at 7. So for he is our God, and we are the people of his pasture, and the sheep of his hand. For he is our God. So look at 6. Oh, come, let us worship and bow down. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker. For he is our God, and we are the people of his pasture. Remember that we are like sheep, they say, in the sheep of his hand, or the sheep under his care. All right? And so remember in Psalm 27, the Lord is, Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. All right, he's going to take care of us. And so that's why the psalmist is saying is what? For he is our God, and we are the people of his pasture. We are in his care. He's going to take care of us. That's another reason to just what? To worship and bow down before God. Let's look at, now this is like the, A, B, C, maybe the D part of 7, but it's starting the next group of the last stanza. So it's attached on to the last stanza. Today, if you will hear his voice, do not harden your hearts as in the day of rebellion, as in the day of trial in the wilderness, when your fathers tested me. They proved me though they saw my work. For 40 years I was grieved with that generation, and said, it is a people who go astray in their hearts, and they do not know my ways. So I swore in my wrath, another swear, that they shall not enter my rest. All right, so let's go ahead and elaborate in 7D. Today, if you will hear his voice, okay, so today when you hear his voice, because everybody has an opportunity to hear God's voice. And so either you're going to heed to his voice, or you're going to retreat from his voice. But he gives everybody. Nobody don't get through this world and say, you know what? I didn't have an opportunity to hear the gospel. I did not have an opportunity to hear God's voice. He's going to give it to us. But what happens when you don't hear his voice? Because Jesus said that his sheep hear his voice and they come running. So what happens when God's speaking? And this is God getting ready to talk right here in 8. 8 is a new beginning. All right, and so this is God speaking. This is what he's saying. Psalmist said today, if you will hear his voice, and he's setting it up for God. And this is what God said. Do not harden your hearts as in the rebellion, and as in the day of trial in the wilderness. So he said, do not harden your hearts as in a day, as in Meribah. The rebellion is Meribah. And we're going to go back to that because we covered that before. And as in the day of trial, or the day of testing in the wilderness. And so that sends us to Exodus 17, 2 through 7. Exodus 17, 2 through 7. That says, therefore the people contended with Moses and said, give us water that we may drink. And Moses said to them, why do you contend with me? Why do you tempt the Lord? And the people thirsted there for water. And the people murmured against Moses and said, why is it you have brought us up out of Egypt to kill us and our children and our livestock with thirst? So Moses cried out to the Lord, saying, what shall I do with this people? They are almost ready to stone me. And the Lord said to Moses, go on before the people and take with you some of the elders of Israel. Also take in your hand your rod with which you struck the river, and go. Behold, I will stand before you there on the rock in Horeb, and you shall strike you shall strike the rock, and water will come out of it, that the people may drink. And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. So he called the name of the place Massa, which is tempted, and Meribah, which is contention, because of the contention of the children of Israel, and because they tempted or tested the Lord, saying, is the Lord among us or not? And so, that is a reference scripture to what happened that referred us back to from Psalm 95, that says, in our heart and your hearts, as in a day of rebellion, and as in a day of the trial in the wilderness. All right. And so God reminded them of that. He reminded them of exactly what their fathers or their forefathers did in that wilderness. And that's part of hardening your heart whenever you're not trusting in God. Do you think that God would have brought them all the way from bondage in Egypt, and he parted that Red Sea and was going to mistreat them or let them die of thirst? God wasn't going to do that. He was not going to do that at all. And so, but they hardened their hearts to God and to his servant Moses. And so we're going to stop there, and we'll pick it up in line 9.